All right, we're learning today, continuing in the Hasidic discourse of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's called Ata Tetzaveh. It's based on the first two words of the section of the Torah, which is Parasha Tetzaveh in the book of Exodus. And the Rebbe explains that it's really talking about here the relationship between Moses and the Jewish people. And that the job of Moshe is to awaken the Jewish identity inside of every Jew. What is a Jew and what is Moses? Who says you have to have either one of them? So Moses, Mr. Smith, you with us? Good. So what are the Jewish people and what is Moses? So first of all, we see the Jewish people are people that were chosen by God for some sort of a purpose. And Moses is the one who's supposed to arouse the Jews to actually do this purpose. And he's supposed to lead them. What is the purpose of the Jewish people? According to the teachings of Chabad, Hasidut, is to reveal God in the world. That was begun by Abraham. Abraham was the first person to reveal God in the physical world. Usually when you say that, you think what it means, that God is like this sort of big ball of light or something, and you reveal it in the physical world, that it comes down in the world and it's revealed. But the Jewish idea of God is totally different from the non-Jewish idea. And that's what Moses' job is. To show how the Jews are totally different from the Jewish idea of God is totally different from what the non-Jews think. The non-Jews think that God is a big power, a big father, a big creator, This is also true. This is a fact. This is true, but that's limiting God. The fact is that nothing exists except for God. God creates everything constantly. And the same God gave the Torah. You with me, Borach? And in the Torah, He gave publicly in front of millions of people, 2 millions of people. He gave it to millions and millions of people. But generally speaking, I don't like it if people eat. But today we can make an exception. Generally, I don't like people. He gave it to millions of Jews. And this Torah, the purpose of the Torah is not just that you should do the commandments, of course that is the purpose, but all this is external. The fact that God is powerful and that God has created the world a long time ago and that God gave the Bible and there's all these commandments, all these things are true, but that's only the external truth. What's on the inside? The inside is that Jews are supposed to feel and advertise. Oh, it's very nasi. The Jews are supposed to come and feel they're supposed to feel this nasi is coming. Oh, yeah. Okay. The Jews, it's not easy to get people to come to class. The Jews are supposed to feel this oneness of God, that God is creating everything, that the world really does not exist except for the fact that God is creating it. And God is creating the world because the world is very important to God. God wants to be revealed here. An almost impossible task. All the other religions say that this world is not real, and God wants us to get out of it somehow or other. Go to heaven. Judaism says no, we have to show that this world is higher than heaven. We have to bring godliness down into this physical world. In order to do this, we have to feel it ourselves. We have to begin with ourselves. This is a very difficult thing. Therefore, it says that the Jews received the Torah at Mount Sinai. Mr. Smith, you with me? The Jews received the Torah at Mount Sinai, but they did not really fulfill the Torah truly until the holiday of Purim. What happened in the holiday of Purim? Almost 1,000 years ago, all the Jews were in a terrible danger. They were all going to be destroyed, killed, liquidated. There was a plan to do it, and the plan was a very successful one and a very practical one by an evil man called Haman, and the whole world agreed with him. They'd destroy all the Jews. The whole world was against us. There was nowhere to run. There was nowhere to hide. We had no friends. We had no allies. And that was when the Jews actually fulfilled the purpose of the Torah. That's when the Jews actually fulfilled the purpose of the Torah. So let's look and see. So we learned in the Maamar yesterday and the day before that the job of Moses is to reveal the true nature of the Jews. But then we learned that the true nature of the Jews was only revealed by Haman, the evil Hitler of his generation that wanted to destroy all the Jews. He was much worse than Hitler in a way. They wanted to destroy all the Jews. So who is it that reveals the true essence of the Jewish people? Moses, in a way of teaching them, or these evil destroyers who want to destroy all the Jews? They're the ones that reveal. I mean, Moses gave them the Torah. Moses gave them the Torah. And what did Haman do? Haman wanted to destroy them all. He wanted to kill them. It was almost 1,000 years ago. Nevertheless, it says in the Midrash that the Jewish people did not really fulfill the Torah until the holiday of Purim. Moses didn't bring them to do it. So who's supposed to be the leader of the Jewish people? Who's the one who really brings out Jewish nature? Moses or Lahavdil, to separate from a million separations, the evil, destructive, may his name be blotted out forever, Haman. Who does it? So it seems both. It's not so clear. Good? Let's look in the Maamar and see. So Moses is called the faithful shepherd, but only in the days of Achashverosh, about 1,000 years ago, from the time when they got the Torah, did they really reveal the true inside of the Torah. They'd been doing the commandments. They even had a holy temple, but only 1,000 years ago. So let's see. Let's look and see. Okay, so it says, let's start from the beginning of Dalet, all right? Dalet. Hine, behold, Habir, the explanation, the pasuk in the sentence, Fa'ata Tetzaveh, we did this yesterday, so we'll go over quickly. That Ata Tetzaveh, that Moshe, you command the Jewish people, or like we explained, means you connect the Jewish people. Boa comes, Behemshech, this explanation that the previous Rebbe gives in his Maamar of 1927, in this discourse that he said in 1927, he explains that Ata Tetzaveh means Moses connects the Jews with God. This comes behemshech after Lamavur, what was explained B'techilat HaMaamar, in the beginning of the Maamar, in the beginning of the previous Rebbe's discourse. He begins right before he explains what Moses is. He explained this Maamar, of course, of the previous Rebbe is a Maamar from the time of Purim. So he begins explaining something about Purim. And then he goes to the idea of Moses connecting the Jews to God. How does he start off? It says, Kibul HaYehudim, that's the name of the discourse. The name of the discourse is V'kibul HaYehudim et Asher Heichel Lasot. The Jews accepted that which they began to do. Who is? Shekiblu, that the Jews accepted on themselves Masha Heichelu, what they began, Bizman, in the time of Matan Torah. In the days of Purim, the Jews, only then did the Jews actually accept what they began when the Torah was given. The Matan Torah and the begotten Matan Torah, Hayata was Hatchala, the beginning. Heichelu Lasot, they began to do. Ubiyamei Achashverosh, in the days of Achashverosh, in the days of the Gezeres Haman, the days of the decree of Haman, Hayata Kabbalah, only then did they actually accept the Torah. Kibla Yudim. Al derech, something like it says, Maamar Rizal, the rabbis, what the rabbis say on the pasuk, Kimu v'kiblu hayudim. It's a sentence also in the Megillah of Esther. Very close to the sentence about Kimu Yudim. It says over there, Kimu, the Jewish people actually fulfilled what they received at Mount Sinai. That which the Jews preceded and said we will do before we will understand the Mount Torah. This was only the beginning of the reception, of the receiving of the Torah. Will be a May Achashverosh. In the days of Achashverosh, Kaimu, they actually fulfilled what they said. It's the same thing. Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, was only the beginning of the identity of the Jews as a people. And the completion was on Purim. Okay, what's going on here? What was revealed in Mount Sinai, and how can it possibly be? The Rebbe is going to ask the question. And the Rebbe, he implies, he's very careful, he implies in the Maamar, in his discourse, that at first glance, hu davar pella, this is very amazing. This is not understandable. The Matan Torah, then in Matan Torah, Hayu Yisrael, the Jewish people were, Betachlis Ilui, and the ultimate highness. And Mountain Sinai, the Jewish people were the highest they'd ever been. V'hoya az, and there was then.
What is the
Tachlis, ultimate. Ha'iloi, highness. V'hoya az, and there was then, etzlam, by them, Giloi, revealed, Elokus, revealed godliness. B'darga, in a level, Hachinali, the highest. The Nosaf Lazeh. And Mount Sinai, the Jews were the highest that any nation has ever been in the history of the world. The Nosaf Lazeh, and in addition to this, Shagam, that also, Kodem Matan Torah, before the giving of the Torah, Hayu were, Giluim Na'alim, before Matan Torah, there were also very high revelations, Biyoter, the most. For instance, Hagili, the revelation of godliness, Shahaya, that was, B'yetziat Mitzrayim, when they left Egypt. Right? God himself took them out of Egypt. Ubefrat, and especially, Bekriyat Yam Suf, when the sea split. Hine, behold, Hagili, the revelation, Shahaya, that was, Beshat Matan Torah, the time of Matan Torah, Haya was Gilui Na'aleh, a high revelation, Od Yoter, even more. As high as the revelations of God were when they left Torah, the revelation of God at Mount Sinai was much, much higher. There's never such a thing. There is no even religion or nation that even claims that God personally appeared to the whole nation. All they say is maybe God appeared. Could we close the door? Please close the door. All they say is that God appeared to one person. And this person gave, and everyone goes insane. There's billions of people that are crazy because God revealed himself just to one man. Or that's what they claim. God revealed himself to one man. They're going berserk. One man. Who knows? All the crusades were fought. One man. This man says he is Lord. He is the Son of the Lord. He is this of the Lord. He is the revelation of the Lord. He is the Spirit of the Lord. This, right? And then afterwards comes Muhammad and he says, no, God revealed himself to me. And I say this. And everybody says, yes. And they go wild. They're berserk and they're killing each other and they're jumping off of cliffs. Here, the Jewish people say that God appeared to everybody. Every single Jew was at least as high as what the non-Jews claim that the JC was, or that the Muhammad was, or that who knows who other these people, the one who started the Buddha, these guys. Every Jew is, in fact, infinitely higher than that. Every single Jew. When did we get that? At Mount Sinai. At Mount Sinai we got a revelation that was greater than the revelations of all the beginners of all these other religions. All these other religions. But that wasn't the highest. Says the Rebbe, that wasn't the highest. When was the highest? B'yamei Achashverosh. The days of Achashverosh, Hayu Yisrael, the Jewish people were, Patachlis Hayurida, at the lowest point possible. The lowest, the nose of, in addition, the Helen, to the concealment, the Hester, and the how do you say, obscuring, Shebakal Galus, which is in all exile, the call of Galus, that all exiles, who is Bedome, Dugmas, like Galus Mitzrayim, they are like the exile of Egypt. So what is exile? Exile, well, we said before, exile means when a person is how do you say, imprisoned. He can't be himself. That's what exile is. Exile means when a person is in prison. For instance, you take a plant, and you put it under a pot. Put it underneath the pot. Take a pot, turn it over on top of a plant. Put it on top of the plant. The plant doesn't get any food, doesn't get any water, doesn't get any sunlight. That plant cannot grow. It can't be a plant. That's called exile. That's called exile. Take an animal, and take that animal and put the animal chain it down so the animal can't move around. That animal is considered to be in an exile. It can't act like an animal. It can't be itself. Right? Take a human being and put him on someplace in an island or something. There was a story with Napoleon. May his name be blotted out forever. They put him on an island where he couldn't be a king and he couldn't be a ruler. That's called exile. Right? He was a great leader. He was a ruler. He was a fighter. He was this. He couldn't do any of the things that he felt he was created for. That's called exile. The Jewish people, when they're in a situation where they can't feel God, where they can't do what God wants, then they're not free. They're not free. That's called exile. That's called exile. A Jewish person, when he can't feel God, it could be that he's free to do all the Torah mitzvahs. Jews come to Israel. Here they can do all that in America, everywhere. Everywhere is the same, everywhere in the world. A Jew nowadays can do as much Torah mitzvahs. He can come to the land of Israel. He can do Torah, he can do mitzvahs as much as he wants, but he's still in exile. Why? Because he doesn't feel God. He doesn't have the love of God, doesn't have fear of God. He maybe does what God wants, he can do the actions. But that's called exile. Right? Exile is when a Jew is not able, for whatever reasons it is, even if it's internal reasons, he's not able to feel God and get excited about God. That's exile. You can be in Israel, you can be in Chicago. It doesn't make any difference. That's according to Chabad. Says the Rebbe, the Jewish people, when they received the Torah, they were not in exile. They were not in exile, they were free. They had been freed from Egypt. They received the Torah. The Torah is called freedom. Charut ala luchot. Cherut. They were free. They were free. And nevertheless, they were not as high as when they were in the days of Achashverosh, when that was the worst exile. The Jews were under a decree to be destroyed, killed physically. The worst exile. That was the highest point of Judaism. Why? We'll see. In the days of Achashverosh, Hayu Yisrael, the Jewish people were. Akiva, can you open the door like we did yesterday? We'll put that in there. Thank you. The sun gets some eyes. Okay. Oh, that's good. Achashverosh, the days of Achashverosh, Hayu Yisrael, the Jewish people were. Batachlis, in the ultimate Yerida, descent. To no soft in addition. Lahel and Vester, to the concealment and the hiding of godliness. Shebakol Galus, which is in every exile. The Kol Galus, that every exile who is, first word in the line, Dugmas. Okay, with me? Boruch. Dugmas, like, similar to Galus Mitzrayim, the exile of Egypt. Ukamo, and just like Shebagalus Mitzrayim, in the exile of Egypt, Kativ, it is written. Velo, quote, Velo Sham Uel Moshe, that they did not listen to Moses. Mikotza Ruach, they did not listen to Moses. Mikotza Ruach, because of the short spirit, Umeavodakasha, and hard work. The Jewish people had no time and no spirit, no mood to listen to what Moses was saying. We're leaving Egypt, everybody, don't worry. They couldn't do it. Hine, behold, I'm sorry, because Al there says similarly, who it is, B'kol Golos. Just like in Egypt. The Jewish people were not able to listen to Moses. Similarly it is in every exile. Sheyeshnam, that there are Kama Nisionos, many tests, B'kiyum Torah b'mitzvahs, in doing the Torah and the mitzvahs. Here the Rebbe says a very interesting thing. What is exile? Exile is that they can't listen to Moses. That's like exile. Exile means you can't listen to Moses. The only time a person can really feel God is if he's connected to Moses. Sometimes you get individuals unique. The only time a person can really feel God is if he's connected to Moses. That's Moses' job. If a person is not able to listen to Moses, whatever reason it is, to listen to Moshe, to the inside message, what Moshe is trying to get over, it explained in the Tanya. Are you doing chitas? You fellas do chitas? In chitas, there's Shar Yichud Ve'emun. It explains that Moshe wanted to implant in the Jews a love and a fear of God that the Jews could arrive at by thinking about God properly. That's what Moses wanted to do. Moshe is a Jew that his whole thing is to connect Jews to the reality of God. The Jews should feel. And when a person feels God, that's Chabad Chasidut. So when a person thinks about God and understands God properly, he'll have emotions about God. That's called redemption. That's called redemption. As the Jewish people, when they were in Egypt, why was it in exile? Because they couldn't listen to Moses. They couldn't listen. The work was so hard, they couldn't listen to Moshe. Okay, Mr. Smith, you with me? They couldn't listen to Moshe. So, Alder says similarly, it is in every exile. Sheyeshnam, that there are common nisionas, many difficulties, trials in doing Torah and commandments. Take an example. A person, he has a big yeshiva, and they learn Torah, he learns Torah, but he needs money in order to make the yeshiva go. So in order to get money, so he'll do certain things that the government wants him to do. The government is not religious. Or he'll do certain things for people because he needs a lot of money. Or he won't do certain things because he's afraid he's going to step on people. Maybe people won't give him money. If he talks about Mashiach, for instance, he talks about Messiah. The Rebbe said you're supposed to do it, but a person is worried. Maybe if he talks about it, people won't give him money. So that's called galus. That's called exile. He doesn't do what Moses says you're supposed to do because of something is preventing him. That's what's called a test. That's galus. Hine behold, as then, bisman at the time, Gezeres Haman, of the decree of Haman, Haya was, Hahelim, the concealment. Leave it open if you can. Put that thing in because it makes air in the room. Haya was, Hahelim, the Hester, the concealment and the hiding. Od Yoter, even more. In the time of Haman, the decree was even worse than it was in Egypt. They wanted to kill everybody. In Egypt, Haman Pharaoh only wanted to kill the males. Haman wanted to kill everybody. Nevertheless, so the time of Matan Torah was the greatest, the highest, and the time of Purim was the lowest. Nevertheless, Matan Torah, at the time when the Torah was given, Keshahayu Yisrael, when the Jewish people were, is it over there? Jewish people were, but Tachlis, no, this is still the first page. What mimer is? No, it's the wrong mimer. Wrong mimer. Oh, you weren't even here. Here you go. The Jewish people were. Keshahayu Yisrael, when the Jewish people were. Betachlis ha'ilui. In the highest of highs, we're on page right near the end. Hayata was rak only. Hatchala. It was only the beginning. Hechelu laso. They began to do. Ubizman Gezeres Haman. And at the time of the decree of Haman, Keshahayu, when they were, Betachlis, in the ultimate, here. Give it to them. Give it to Mr. Smith. Here's 2 copies. In the decree of Haman, when they were in the ultimate, you have 3? No. Ultimate Hashiflus. When the Jews were the ultimate lowness. When the Jews were in the ultimate lowness. In the time of Matan Torah, that was only the beginning of doing what God wanted. That was only the beginning of the Torah. of accepting the Torah. And the time of Haman, which was the lowest of the lows, Shiflu is the lowest, Az Davka, only then, Kiblu, did they actually accept Mashahechela, what they began in Matan Torah. How can this be? Homova'er Razeh explains in this, the Bizmana Gazera, that at the time of the decree, Haya was, the time of the decree of Achashverosh, what's the difference between giving of the Torah, that was the highest point of Judaism, but that was only just called the beginning of accepting the Torah, and Achashverosh was the lowest point of Judaism in the time of the decree of Haman, when it says the Jews actually accepted the Torah. What was the difference? Because in the time of the Gezer, in the time of Achashverosh, Haya was Hakim of Torah v'mitzvahs, the doing of Torah v'mitzvahs shalem, b'mesirus nefesh, with self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice. What does self-sacrifice mean? What is self? What does it mean, self-sacrifice? Yourself is your will. What you want to do. One second. Here, you can sit over here. What does it mean, self-sacrifice? Self-sacrifice means you give up your will. You give up your will. You have a page? You have a page from yesterday. Huh? Here. We're starting a new page anyway. What does it mean? What does it mean giving self-sacrifice? Self-sacrifice is giving up your will. For instance, let's say a person has a ticket to the World Series baseball game. In America, a World Series baseball game, right, some people, they can sell it for $1,000. Right? There's people, World Series baseball game, oh, he really wants it. He's been thinking about this. We have, maybe in this room, we don't know what the desire and the lust that a person can have to go to a World Series baseball game is just, but beyond measure. He wants to give it. And nevertheless, that day he finds out it is his son's, his son is playing football or something. Right? And his son says, Daddy, will you come and see me play football? The father wants to say, I got my game and I can't do it. No. He gives up the ticket. He gives the ticket away. He wants it so badly, but he gives it away in order to go and see his son. He doesn't really want to see his son play. Could care less. These little kids are playing football. It's a big waste of time. But in order to do a favor for his son, so his son will feel good. Right? His son will feel good. So because he loves his son, therefore he's willing to give up this game. He wants to. It is so bad. Nothing compared to watching the game on a video afterwards. He already knows the outcome. The tension, the action, the life, is nothing like it. The game, he's willing to give the whole thing up first. That's called Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh. He gives up something that he wants with all of his soul. He gives it up in order for some other purpose. Right? He's willing to forget about this. That's called Mesiras Nefesh. There's also cases we have in America, for instance. You have in all the world. You have soldiers. A soldier goes in, he gives his life for his country. Okay, there they say that maybe it's not so much of a self-sacrifice, a soldier. Why? Because he really thinks he's going to win. He thinks he's going to win. But let's say a person that doesn't like to fight. He doesn't want to fight and he doesn't want to make war and he doesn't want to. But the president says, for the sake of the country, you have to do it. So he's willing to go and he hates every single second. But Mesiras Nefesh, he forces himself to go and he do it. He forces himself. It's called Mesiras Nefesh. And he forces himself. And what does Mesiras Nefesh mean? Not doing something that you really want to do, and there's no logical reason why not to do it. He wants to do it. That's called Mesiras Nefesh. Right? He wants to do it with all of his heart, with all of his soul. He has a tremendous desire. That's called Mesiras Nefesh. Or the other way around. He does something that he hates doing. He can't stand it. It's the worst thing in the world for him. Right? It's totally against his grain. But he does it for some other purpose, for a higher purpose. That's Mesiras Nefesh. Right? He gives up something. Now, what happened in the holiday of, what would you say is the greatest self-sacrifice that there could be? What would you say is the greatest self-sacrifice? It's not so easy. Not so easy to figure out. What would you think is the greatest self-sacrifice? When a person gives up what? Huh? His life. Listen, there's some people that their money is worth more to them than their life. There's some people that it's harder for them to give up their money than to give up their lives. That they're willing to risk their life, not for their money. To give up their money is very impossible to them, right? So some people it's money, some people it's life, some people it's pleasure. Some people, if they can't get this pleasure, they don't want. And some people it's success. If they can't get success, they commit suicide. They want to be alive, right? Some people they want for love, for a pleasure. His girlfriend gets married to somebody else, she leaves him, he jumps off a building, right? If you can't have this, some people, what's the thing that their whole life is? Different people is different things. Different people is different things. The Jewish people, and what was it? What was the Jewish? What happened in Purim? What was the miracle of Purim? Chabad Chassidut, Chabad, the first Rebbe Chabad explains it differently than everybody else. Everybody else. Look at all the books. I don't think you'll find it anywhere else. The Rebbe explains Purim differently than everyone else. What's the holiday of Purim? According to Chabad Chassidut, the holiday of Purim is like this: the decree of Haman was to destroy, of Achashverosh, was to destroy, liquidate all of the Jews, men, women, children, old people, young people. Okay, Mr. Smith, to destroy everybody in one day. That was the decree. That was the decree. The Jewish people had a choice. They could have gotten out. This is what the Rebbe explains. The decree was to kill, destroy, liquidate all the Jews. If a person would just say, I'm not a Jew, then he would be, exempt. Exempt. They couldn't kill him. They only could kill people who were Jews, who said that they were Jews. If a person just took the mezuzah off of his door and said, I'm not a Jew anymore, right? Jews, no Jews allowed. Put a big sign on his door, right? No Jews allowed in my house. We're not Jewish. Right? Takes off the mezuzah from his door and he puts a rabbit foot over there, whether it was a horseshoe or something. And he says, that's it. So they couldn't kill him. All the Jews had a choice. The Jews had a choice. They could have said, we're not Jews. Now what's the natural, obvious desire of everyone is to live. People want to live. Right? It's an obvious thing. If you're dead, you lose your money, you lose your girlfriend, you lose your success, you lose everything. And in order to live, all they had to do was one thing. Just say, I'm not a Jew. So the choice was a very simple one. To do the easiest thing in the world. Just say 3 words. I'm not Jewish. 3 words. Or whatever the counterpart in Persian is. I'm not Jewish. Simplest thing in the world. Huh? Yeah, whatever. Just do those things. And if they don't do it, what's it going to be? The most difficult thing in the world. To get killed. To get killed. What happened? What did the Jews do? There wasn't one Jew. That says the Alter Rebbe, says the first Rebbe.